Well, hello. I had big news today. A very exciting announcement to finally share with you all here on Just Ride Bikes. I have entered the longest bike ride of my life, a ride to the end of the world. A brand new event called Final Frontier Patagonia in South America, a unsupported bikepacking race, half on gravel and half on road, and it measures a quite staggering 2,700 kilometers, so about 1,600 miles, a very long way indeed. And I'm both super anxious and really nervous about the ordeal, but also really excited at the opportunity to ride in possibly one of the prettiest places in the world. So, like I say, it's a brand new event, and I saw it advertised on Instagram just a few weeks after finishing Badlands last year, my first ultra experience. And while I definitely had a few wobbles in that event, I came away loving the whole ultra community and the experience of riding for multiple days on your own in amazing landscapes. And when I saw this event advertised in a part of the world I wanted to go to for a long time, I entered straight away. And I like riding through landscapes. I like exploring parts of the world by bicycle. For me, the bicycle is the perfect speed to explore and experience a landscape better than driving or walking through said landscape. And you get to challenge yourself, that physical test as well, and that mental challenge of riding a long way, and the highs and lows that definitely come with riding a bike a very long way indeed, and a great way to enjoy a part of the world I've not been to before. I've been to Colombia and that was incredible. So I have high hopes for Chile and Argentina and Patagonia, the national park. So yeah, it's just a collision of having that appetite for riding a long distance and want to explore more parts of the world I've not been to yet, and do it before I get too much older and my legs don't work as well as they do work right now. I'd never ridden a bike for possibly 2 weeks or longer non-stop, so I've no idea what to expect. But in today's video, I jumped on a call with a very experienced bikepacking ultra distance rider and racer, Josh Ibbett, to hopefully put my nerves at ease a little bit. So we'll hear from him in a moment. But first, let me share some more details about the event and what to expect. And also, you might see behind me a very nice bike, a Parley Taos, and that's a bike I'm riding in this event. I'll do a full deep dive into the bike and the component choices and equipment decisions on that bike in a separate video, so stay tuned for that. But today is all about the event and the why and the how. Now, an important thing about Final Frontier Patagonia is it's not a race like Badlands or the Atlas Mountain Race. It's an event and experience, but there is a time limit of 24 days. And while I'm not going to race it and destroy myself and put myself in a hole like I did in Badlands, I do want to test myself and challenge myself and ride as fast as I can comfortably without destroying myself. But unlike Badlands, where I don't really sleep for 3 days, the plan is to sleep every night and get a good night's sleep and carry sleeping equipment in a tent and a sleeping bag, or use hotels or have accommodation available on the route, and make sure I get a good night's sleep and I'm fully rested so I can ride faster and further during the daytime. And also, I don't really see the point of going to Patagonia and missing out on half it because I'm riding through the dark. So I plan to ride through the daytime and enjoy the amazing landscapes, the forests, the mountains, the lake, and the wilderness, and the plains, and the other majestic sights I'm sure will be there for me to capture with my eyes and memories, and also through video and photos to share with you here on Just Ride Bikes. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to see it by hitting that button down below. So yeah, super excited. Although the event isn't a race, I do want to challenge myself and test myself and push into a reasonable distance every day. And while it's hard to make a real plan or goal distance for every day because the terrain is going to be different every day, it might be mountainous, it might be flat, it might be windy one day, and I don't want to set myself too much of a hard target to chase and ruin the experience. I do want to aim for around 150 to maybe 170, 180 kilometers per day if I'm riding all day, getting up at 6 or 7 and riding all day, stop for lunch and ride into sort of the evening. That gives me a good window to cover a good distance. And while I won't be going fast, if I ride at a nice steady pace, zone 2, I should be able to maintain a reasonable speed and maintain a good distance every day. If I was ambitious and wanted to ride the event in 2 weeks, so 14 days, that would need me to ride 200 kilometers per day, which I can do quite comfortably, but day in, day out, I don't know, fatigue, soreness, that all builds up and makes the challenge of riding that sort of distance every day after a week a different kettle of fish indeed. So I have a sort of loose target, but I'll see what happens when I'm there in Chile and Argentina, because it might be easier, or more likely, it'll be harder than it feels like right now sat here in my studio in the Cotswolds. So training has been going well behind the scenes. I've had a week in Calpe, southern Spain, just last month, and clocked up 35 hours on a road bike, and I was averaging between 5 and 7 hours on the bike every day, and that was good in terms of having 7 days on the bike, all day pretty much on the bike, and I felt really good after that in terms of my body held up really well to the stress and the strain of riding a bike every day, being in that crouched position. I've also been running once or twice a week since October as well, so building up that sort of running fitness. And cycling is great for fitness, but not so good for bone density and that sort of durability you get from running. So I've been running twice a week on and off road as well. And also I joined a gym. I came away from Badlands, as you know, with a bad neck, and I was determined to avoid that happening again. So I joined a gym. I joined a local gym in Cirencester called Catalyst. So a big shout out to the guys at Catalyst who have been looking after me. Really accessible gym environment, small group personal training setup. Going there 2 or 3 times a week and really enjoying it. And especially this time of year when it's crappy outside, going to the gym. And I'm really feeling the benefits now of that all-round functional fitness, and definitely benefit to me in Calpe recently. And hopefully that will see me through Patagonia with fewer aches and pains and issues, and hopefully, fingers crossed, avoid the return of Sherman's neck. But I think by sleeping every night, that build-up of fatigue that happened in Badlands shouldn't hopefully be an issue. But definitely join the gym. That strength work, the flexibility has been a big benefit this winter, and something I urge all cyclists, especially us older guys and women, to do during the off season or even during the season as well. So hopefully the fitness is in a good place. I've not been smashing out the big rides, because doing that at this time of year in the winter in the UK is pretty tough on the immune system. It's just crappy conditions all the time. But I'm confident, without being arrogant, that I have the sort of base fitness to ride at a steady speed all day long as I keep the engine, the fuel supply topped up with food as I ride all day. Now, it's fair to say I'm pretty inexperienced when it comes to riding a long way on a bike in terms of the bike packing unsupported nature of these events. Badlands was definitely in at the deep end, and while I survived, I'm definitely not arrogant about doing this final frontier Patagonia. So I jumped on a call with Josh Ibbett, who you may know. He's a very experienced ultra distance rider and racer. He won events like Transcontinental in the past. So a good person to tap up for some knowledge and some tips on how to ride a very long way on the bike. So let's hear from Josh now.
One question I have is, should I take it day by day or have the 2 weeks I hope it would take planned ahead of time?
Well, in my experience, if you plan a trip of 2 weeks, it's going to change on day 2 or maybe even day 1. So yeah, I'd say day by day. I mean, you want to have a rough outline, but not plan in too much detail. So maybe, if you've got a flight home, have that as a long goal. But day to day, I mean, you just want to get into a rhythm, because it's not all days are going to be equal. So if you decide you're going to do, say, 200k each day, it's just not going to happen like that. Some days might be close to 100. Some days you might get up towards 300 if you've got a massive tailwind on a fast section. So you just have to sort of have a good overview of the route, maybe some good notes. Like you said, you're going to be using Rival GPS, maybe plan your sort of waypoints and markers and things, points of interest on there. And then you can just kind of refer to it on the go. And I'd almost just, plan day by day, maybe even like, half a day at a time. I tend to just sort of break it into 3 sections. So wake up, ride till lunch, have either a resupply or a break. If obviously this is assuming that there's going to be enough towns along the route, because it is going to be remote in sections, and then kind of like have a little break and then break down the day into the next section. So like the afternoon session and then the evening session, and you might have a goal of saying reach this town by this time, or basically reach this town because there's a hotel and you want to stay there tonight. Other days it might just be a case of just pushing on and, you know, knowing there's not going to be any options until the morning and end up sleeping out somewhere, and then just ride until you feel either find a good place to camp or bivvy, or until you just don't want to ride anymore and stop.
So I guess there's no point setting any sort of distance goals for myself for each day, because each day could be different. Some days could be flatter, easier, have tailwind, you might have headwind and it'd be hillier. So if you set a goal, you're probably going to make it tough for yourself trying to achieve that goal.
Exactly. It's a mental game more than anything. Like the cycling part is probably, in some respects, the easy bit because it's just pushing the pedals. But if you decide you're going to do 200k and then you only do 150k in that day, you can set yourself up mentally for a bit of a hard time. But then, like you say, the next day you could get a tailwind and you could do another, 100k on what you'd done that day. Just you have to manage your mind a bit so that the highs, you have to understand when you're on a high and when you're feeling good and when it's all going to plan. It's great and enjoy it, but you can't expect that every single day. So you just have to manage your expectations a little bit and just get in a routine. And that's why I try and break it down, by meals is quite good. Breakfast, ride a bit, have lunch, ride a bit, have dinner. And that's kind of, that's the one thing you can control in the day. And it might not necessarily mean you're at a town for those meals, but, you'll have food with you. So maybe just sit down for 15, 20 minutes, enjoy a sandwich or whatever food you found, whatever you've scraped out of the bottom of your bag by that point. And yeah, just set that kind of daily routine and then you can control it and, just see where you end up.
I think that's why I find the planning quite tricky, because it's hard to plan for, you don't know what each day will bring you. I mean, I've got the route map and stuff. Until you're actually there on the ground, over the mountain and in the conditions that will be there on that day, how do you know what to plan? I guess having some, just wing it a little bit, almost not wing it, but like go with the flow and not plan too much.
Exactly that. I mean, I wouldn't stress out too much about it. Just know that you've got that. Maybe you've got like a halfway point or key sections, or I think there's checkpoints on the event as well. So maybe just sort of say, I want to be through this checkpoint by this kind of day. And a day is quite a long time in a bikepacking event. You could be there in the morning or the evening. That's like 12 hours. So that's quite a bit of leeway. So if you have a high overview plan like that, to enable you to sort of get to your rough finish, like target, whatever that might be. And then, kind of just sort of refine it as you go along. And you might even find you're stronger and more organized in the second half and more efficient. The first few days, I'd imagine it's, especially as you've not really done anything of this length, it's going to take a bit of time to find your feet and get into the rhythm. But it becomes almost easy eventually. If you let it, if you just go with the flow and ride into it, then it'll just become normal. Then the hard bit will be coming home again to normality.
Yes, I guess the first few days probably the most stressful because it's all new and you're finding like the rhythm and going through the kind of getting your head around riding all day and breaking it down to segments, and hopefully 3 or 4 days in it feels like, say, natural. In terms of, you mentioned like breakfast, lunch and dinner and like timings, are you fairly sort of have those set in stone in terms of like timing, like you got to be on the road by 7 a.m. and you're definitely set up camp or sleep by 9 p.m, or are you fairly loose on those sort of timings?
Yeah, well, when I'm doing the races, I tend to try and keep those fixed points if possible. I think especially in the morning, it's very easy to waste an hour just faffing around. So you've got to set your alarm and you've got to be disciplined with your alarm.
Okay.
I think that's the key. Get out the door in the morning and just get going. And you might feel awful. And I guarantee at some point you will feel awful. But as soon as you get some food in, a bit of sunlight, get warmed up again, it just becomes quite natural. And you'll probably feel, I guess the longest event you've done is Badlands.
Yes.
And you probably went like much harder over a shorter duration. But this, you're not going to be going that hard. And you'll just find the rhythm with your energy levels. You'll find like you eat a meal and then 2 hours later, you're absolutely flying. You feel like you've not done anything. But equally, a few hours on from that, you could feel quite low. So you've got to, it's a learning kind of experience as well. You've got to listen to your body, understand the highs and the lows. If you've got a low, just have a think about it, about what have you done today? What have you eaten? What haven't you eaten? Did you sleep well last night? Did you not eat enough yesterday? And you'll gradually kind of build an understanding of your body and how it works. And we're all slightly different. So what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for someone else. But you could get to sort of 3 PM and think, oh, I had 3 sandwiches for lunch today and I'm absolutely flying. So, just think about why you're feeling the way you are. Because, energy in is energy out. It's a pretty simple equation, but it's very easy to get distracted from that when you're kind of in this new environment and riding all day. And I guess the biggest thing is don't stand on the start line thinking about the finish, because it's a long way. If you think about it, you can kind of intimidate yourself. So yeah, don't think past kind of like the next day or the end of the day, as you're in it. And yeah, normally the first couple of days tend to drag a little bit, and then before you know it, you're finished. And then you think, well, where did that time go? And that's the sign of a good time, and it's a sign you've done it right. And I'm sure you'll get there, but it takes a little while just to get in that rhythm.
You talk about lows, and definitely something I experienced lows and badlands, and I guess everyone has their own coping mechanism of getting through lows, and you figure this out in a low, don't you? Do you have any more tips to kind of share to how to stop a low, sort of spiraling out of control, and like keep moving? I guess just keep moving, like don't get bogged down in it. And
well, eat some food is a good start normally.
Okay.
I think that's the root cause of a lot of big sort of mental struggles in these ultra races. Because when you're low on energy, your muscles are craving all the the carbohydrate, the sugar, and eventually your brain kind of loses out a little bit in the supply chain, and then it's harder to make sensible, rational decisions. So sleep well. I mean, don't push the sleep too much. Eat well, and if you're feeling low, then eat some food and give it half an hour. And then if you're still feeling low, maybe just stop for 10 minutes and eat some food, and then give it half an hour. And quite often the lowest lows, you can be in them for a while, and then suddenly you're out and you just feel amazing and you're loving it. And there's not any real kind of science to it. It depends on you. But yeah, you've just got to keep trucking, really. Just keep pushing the pedals over, and if in doubt, eat some food, drink some water, keep hydrated. And yeah, don't dwell on it. It's overall, it's going to be an amazing experience. So you've got to enjoy it. Yeah, enjoyment on an ultra isn't, sunshine and smiles all the time.
well, you have to have the lows and enjoy the high to get sometimes, aren't you?
Exactly. And equally goes the opposite way as well. When you're like, sometimes you feel absolutely euphoric and over the moon. And at that point, it's important to just catch yourself and think, right, I just need to not push the pedals too hard. Don't get carried away. Still keep on eating. Because if I've been in that situation myself, and you feel amazing, for me in the evening, I feel really good, especially sunset, that low evening light. For some reason, my body just motors at that time. And if I get carried away and just stomp on the pedals because I feel like God, then I know what's coming later on. And then, when it gets dark, it can get a little bit wavy. So yeah, it's all about tempering your effort as well as, the highs and the lows equally, and try and just try and keep level if you can. But it does take some concentration and thinking about, and some food. The food always helps. But again, it's part of learning your body and your mind and how it works. But by the end of like 2 weeks or so, I think you will have a pretty good. I think it will probably it'll make you look at your body and what it can do in a different way. I expect.
I've never ridden for 2 weeks non-stop every day, getting up and riding potentially 200 kilometers. How on earth do you pace yourself? I mean, clearly I'm going to start slow and not get carried away with anybody. And it's not really a race like Badlands where we're riding through the night. I'll be sleeping every night, and so I enjoy the amazing views at daytime. But how on earth do you pace yourself? How do you find that? I guess it'll get easier as the days roll by, but how do you pace yourself early on when you are excited and enthusiastic from day one?
Well, day one, you're going to go too hard because there'll be loads of people and everyone will be going too hard. One easy thing you can do is go in a nice, easy gear. Go in a gear that you think's nice and easy, not trying too hard, and then just click up another gear. I used to do that when I was doing the 24-hour races years and years ago when we kind of first met. And I always used to do that, go in a nice, easy gear where it didn't feel too hard to pedal, and then just go in the next easier one, just in case, because by the end of the day, that will feel, heavy on your legs. But what I'd say on an event of this length, the first couple of days you'll go too hard, and it's almost like your body. For the first couple of days, your body's used to using all the carbohydrates in your muscles. You know, it's not fully switched over to fat burning. But there's a day, probably day 3 or day 4. It's normally kind of end of day 3, start of day 4 for me, and it's just a slog. It's just going to be tough, and you see a lot of people scratch day 3 or 4 of these races. And I'm not a sports scientist or, anything like that. But my theory is that your body just kind of goes, oh, hang on a minute, I keep running out of carbohydrates here. I need to start burning more fat. And I think there's just a bit of a switch over kind of transition time. But for me, after day 4, like maybe day 4 to day 10, they're all about the same. Nice and consistent. For me, after 10 days or so, then the sort of the deeper fatigue starts kind of settling in a bit. So you can have some harder times, and then it's almost like energy in, energy out. You eat a ham sandwich, you'll be flying. Then that runs out, and you're just crawling again. Then you find like some Haribos or something. That's another hour. So yeah, you've got to think of it like that. So yeah, get through the first 3 or 4 days, and then you'll be in a rhythm, and expect a bit of a low after that initial couple of days, where you are going to be pushing harder than is necessarily sustainable. It's just natural. Even the most disciplined of people racing these events don't do that. Me as much as anyone. So yeah, expect that low and then get into the rhythm. And that's when you'll really start learning kind of your routine. I talked about kind of breaking the day down, but you'll know what your body needs when, what your mind's doing, the highs and the lows of your mind. So yeah, that kind of 4 to 10 days, I expect it will be pretty, as long as you don't get injured or anything like that, it should be quite consistent. And then after that, you're almost there. So it's kind of a mind game then.
What do you do when you get to like day 10, you've got 4 days possibly left, and you mentioned deep fatigue, everything tired. You're near there, but you're still a long, long way. How do you push yourself in those last few, and that sort of last 10%?
We just keep pedaling because there's not many options. And down there, to be honest, if you want to scratch, with however many, like 500-600k to go, there's probably not going to be many options, and it's probably easy just to keep pedaling to get there. So yeah, you just got to kind of keep focused then, and that's, like I said, that's the mind game. Your body will be doing what your head tells it. So if you let your head kind of, wobble, then your body might start doing weird things. But just keep fueled up, eat as much as you can. Like I said, if you're feeling a little bit low, just put some sugar in your body. Eat some food, have a ham sandwich or whatever you've got to eat, and things usually get a little bit better. And if it's still really bad and you've gone a couple of days and you just can't get yourself going, have a good sleep, have like a little bit longer, extra hour here, extra hour there, extra half hour just to have a big meal, and then just keep going. And then just tell yourself, it gets to a point where you think, well, I've come this far, I just can't stop now. So yeah, you just got to get on with it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, like you say, there's no easy way to keep pedaling. In terms of food, I guess food is a case of finding what's on the road. It might be nice food one day, it might be awful food. I guess, are you making sure you stock up when you get a chance at a petrol station, gas station, you're stocking up? Carrying, I guess that's knowing a route and studying a route for your next sort of town and trying to break down and make sure you don't get in a position where you're running out of food or water.
Exactly, yeah. And having not sort of been to South America before, I can't tell you exactly what you're going to find. But you soon learn, you learn as part of the first 2 or 3 days is learning what you can get. And, it's not going to change too much, I wouldn't have thought, throughout the journey. I guess the staples would be the same. I suspect it might be fairly basic that far down south because, just supplying the shops and stuff isn't as easy because it's just a long way from anywhere. So I imagine there'll be a lot of things like bread and stuff like that. But just take the opportunity to stop for a decent meal when you can. Part of your day's planning, if you say, for example, stop at lunch, then just have a little look at Riva GPS and just see how many Ks it is to the next town, or the next 2 or 3 towns, just so you have an idea to so you can gauge what you need to buy. Because the worst thing is running out of food. Water you can find. I take some chlorine tablets. So then you can kind of like, if you're desperate, you can get it from a stream or whatever, and just put some chlorine in to stop it upsetting your stomach. Just make sure you wait a half hour.
Okay. Good tip.
To let it treat to treat the water. But yeah, you could even go through the whole route and just sort of roughly outline the bigger towns and how many k's in between, and have it like either on your phone, or I sometimes just have a bit of paper and laminate it so it's just in my frame bag. And if your phone goes flat, you've still got a reference sheet, and some key things, like some key passes or something like that, which could take a bit longer. So I guess that's your top level planning, and then just take 5-10 minutes each day just to sort of dig into the route or the next 200k and just see what is there, because the last thing you want to do is be in a town, then leave and think, oh, I'm hungry, and then check the route and realize there's another 200k and you've got like a packet of biscuits. I mean, your body will do it. I've done it myself. Your body can do some amazing things, but you'll pay for it later on. So yeah, just spending 5-10 minutes longer at a resupply or lunch or whatever could save you more time in the long run.
That's good advice. Talking of advice, you're clearly very experienced at doing ultra distance events. You've won and competed in loads of events around the world, and you must get loads of questions from people doing the first ultra. What's the one piece of advice you always comes to the top of your mind that you hand out to beginners like myself doing the first big undertaking?
Well, I probably just gave it to you. Really, it's just the management of your emotions, and it's all connected to food, pretty much, and sleep and energy. So keep
eating,
yeah, and just keep aware. If you feel bad, just have a think about it. Have a think about why you feel bad. What have you done in the last few hours? And it will probably either come back to you're pushing your sleep. You slept 2 hours last night, and now you're really tired, which sounds like you probably don't want to be doing. And if not, then it's going to be food. So yeah, keep eating, keep hydrated, and just keep pedaling and enjoy the ride.
So there we go, my announcement for riding Final Frontier Patagonia, far, far beyond the realms of anything I've ever done in my cycling career. And like I say, there'll be a full video on my bike coming very soon. Stay tuned for that. And if you have any tips or advice or words of wisdom for me, you can share for riding an event like this, feel free to drop them down below. I'd love to hear from you as always. And I'll put a link to the Final Frontier Patagonia website down below. And there will be a GPS spot tracker, which I'll share here on YouTube and on Instagram nearer time as well. But I've got a few weeks to do some more panicking basically. So yeah, there we go. Let me know what you think by dropping a comment down below, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you so much for watching.